No studio would be complete without a good keyboard in the studio. So today we're going to review the keyboard that I have in my studio, the Casio CGP-700.
One more time.
Hey guys, welcome to Schopfield Music. I'm Napoleon. Today we're going to review the Casio Concert Grand Piano 700. Here at Schopfield Music, we like to give you reviews of the gear we use. We do those on Tuesdays for Tuesday Gearday videos. And on Fridays we'll give you some jams. Might be a cover song, might be an original. We'll try to put those out for you on Friday for our Friday jams. We're just average musicians coming to you to show you that you don't have to have professional equipment or be a professional musician to get music out there for you. If we can do this, so can you. So, a little bit about this piano. Now, I am not a professional piano player. In fact, I don't really know how to play the piano. But I know every studio needs one. And, well, I wanted to get one. So I decided to learn a little bit about piano so that I can at least make some noise, add that sound to the songs that I do. So, went to Sweetwater and I picked up the Casio CGP-700. Now, why do you need a piano in your studio? Well, obviously, for one, it's good to have a piano. If you get a keyboard, you can get a lot of different sounds, and we're going to go into details about what this piano here can do. The CGP stands for Concert Grand Piano, and this is made by Casio. Originally, when you buy this particular keyboard, it comes with a very nice stand that has speakers built into it that this can sit right on top, and it would be like having an upright piano. For me, I wanted the portability to be able to take this from my studio over to someone else's place and everything like that. So I don't use the base stand that it came with. I just have it on a typical piano tripod. And it works just fine for that. So the actual keyboard has two small speakers built into it. The sound isn't as loud. Here's the piano sound on here. The sound isn't super loud coming out of these speakers, but when you plug it into your mixer and record it, obviously it'll be going through your PAs or whatever system you have, and the sound is much better. So here's those same A chord through the recording. So it sounds a little better that way. The Casio CGP-700 is a full-size keyboard. It has 88 keys. They have a, they're not real plasticky feeling. They've got a bit of an texture to the keys, so there's a bit of like an ivory feel to it. And they are weighted keys. What that means when you get a weighted keys is when you push them down, they're heavier on the bass side than they would be on the treble side. But it's weighted so it feels like a real piano when you play. Like all keyboards, it has many different sounds, and it also has built-in rhythm section. In the studio, that comes in very handy. You can play drums, or you can just play rhythms. So if you're going to be playing like I do, making your songs, a lot of times you'd like to find a nice tempo, how many beats per minute the song's going to be, and then I like to then play to a typical tempo track first, and then go back in and record drums to it. I use the keyboard for my drumming right now. There are 550 different tones that you can get on the keyboard. along with 200 different types of rhythm tracks for the beats, the tempo. The keyboard does come with a sustain pedal, which I don't use, but does come with a sustain pedal, and there's a jack for that. There's also stereo 1/4-inch inputs to connect into your mixer. Or if you want to go in mono, you can just use the left side. As USB over MIDI, or MIDI over USB, however it's said, it does support MIDI, but unlike a MIDI controller keyboard, it has its own sounds built in. So if you're in the market for a keyboard, one of the things to know when you're in a studio is if you want an actual keyboard, digital piano type like this is, or if you want a MIDI controller keyboard. A MIDI controller keyboard doesn't have any sounds, and you get the sounds off of your computer through MIDI. So let's go in and check it out. Again, I'm not a great piano player, but this is one of the grand piano sound that comes with the keyboard. Besides the feel of the keys and the weight of the keys on this keyboard, one of the big selling points for me for getting this was the touch screen menu that it has. Very easy to use and understand. The two main ones that I use would be the tone and the rhythm. So when you go into tone, it pulls up all the different sounds that you have, and you have the ability to layer these sounds. You can have up to 2 tones on the keyboard, and you can mix them together. So as we were saying, this is just the classic grand piano sound. But you could also add a second sound to it, and this here would be some strings. So you can hear the piano and the strings together, which sounds really nice. When you go into the menu screen here, when you go into your tones, you can simply, if it's red over here on the squares, when it's red, it means it's active. Turn this one red, now the strings are active. Turn it off, and it's just the piano again. But you can click the type, and here are all the different piano. There's 4 screens of different types of piano sounds. So you have just the concert grand piano sound. Maybe a dance piano sound. Little honky tonk. Harpsichord. And there's a bunch of electric pianos. And there's a ton of organ sounds as well. And then there's different guitars, basses, string instruments, ensembles, brass, of course. What I really like about this keyboard is the fact that you can layer two sounds together. So if I'm playing like an organ, a lot of times I might take one organ sound here and add a second organ sound to thicken it up. Over here, on this part of the keyboard, there are banks of storage so that you can store the sounds that you pick. And then you can pull them up later, recall them later if you're on like a live show or something like that. Another thing this keyboard does is it allows you to split the keyboard. What the split does is it gives you the lower half of the keyboard and the upper half of the keyboard. The lower half would be the bottom settings on here, and the upper half would be the top. So you can still blend and have two sounds if you want, but right now we've just got one. I got a bass guitar down at the bottom with piano up here. Very different sounds, so you could obviously lay them up. And you can have multiple sounds still if you want. It'll be up here on the top. So that is splitting. That's nice. You can also, what they have is called duet. What duet does is that's kind of a teaching, sort of a teaching design. It splits the keyboard into a duet so that each side can do the same thing. So the left side here and the right side here are the same note. So if you're teaching someone how to play, you can have somebody on both sides. Now another thing that's handy on this keyboard, if you're learning a song and maybe it's a real complicated song you're learning to play, and you've got it figured out, but then you start playing with your band and they said, oh, we're going to play in a different key. Well, because this is a keyboard, instead of having to relearn all the chords and finding different shapes, instead of playing a G, now you got to play a G sharp, right? Or something like that. And you don't want to switch over and play the different types. So what you can do is you can transpose and just go up or down by a tone. So if they're playing guitar and they're saying, okay, instead of playing G, we're going to play in G sharp. So on a guitar, you'd put a capo on a keyboard, you just transpose it up one. So now, when you play a G, so when you play a G here, that's an actual G. If you transpose up one, and you play that same G, it's actually now a G sharp. So that's come in handy. Sometimes when you're playing a song but you want to change the key of it, you don't want to change the chord you're playing, you can just transpose it. Now, you also can mess with your rhythms. So from the main section, instead of going into tones, I go into rhythm. And there's 200 different rhythms in here. And there's, just like when you're doing with your tones, you could just click on the one that it is. And there are pop rhythms, 8-beat, 16-beat, rock, dance, jazz, Latin, world, country, ballads, piano rhythms. And there are many different options within each menu. So straight rock tempo here. And on the left side of the keyboard are the controls for your rhythm. So we would start. That's just a typical straight rhythm. And you can play your piano along to it. You can also change the tempo so that it matches the song you're doing. There's a jog wheel here to change the tempo. You can also use the same jog wheel to change the transpose or many other functions on here. So how would I use the tempo on this keyboard in a studio setting? Well, let me show you. Let's say we've got a song and the tempo is just typical, let's go with, let's go with the 120 tempo. And we know it's in 4/4 time, although there are other time signatures in here. I might just go with a straight 8-beat count. Let's listen to that. So I would use that tempo, and I would record that into my DAW so that I would have a basic tempo track. And then, after that's recorded, I would come back and re-record the keyboards, or I might play guitar to the tempo track. Something similar to that. And then once that is recorded, I usually would then take the tempo track out of the mix and actually lay down some drums. Drums are just like a keyboard sound. You would just go in, instead of being on your piano, instead of being in the piano sounds, I would come over to drums. There are many different sets. And then when I would re-record, great keyboard though for a studio, I think. It's got a ton of sounds. I think they all sound really good, especially through the mix when recorded. They have drum sounds that sound adequate. I've used them quite a bit on the Friday jams that I've put out recently. And to have a nice tempo track to play along to, especially if you're playing by yourself, has been really indispensable for me here in the studio. So a keyboard like this is really a must-have if you're in the studio making music. Again, I am not a great keyboard player. I've been playing a little bit. If you want to know how I taught myself how to play and fool around and get by on the keyboard, I'd be happy to show you what I know. Let me know in the comments if you want that kind of information or something like that. I'd be happy to share it with you. Alright, well that was a quick review of the Casio Concert Grand Piano, the CGP-700. It's a keyboard that I use here in my studio, and well, you should give it a shot. If you're interested or in the market for a keyboard, I like this one. I'll put a link in the description of where you can find one as well. Alright guys, appreciate you spending some time with me today on a Tuesday Gear Day. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments. Click like, and if you haven't already done so, consider subscribing. Bell it, yo. Turn on those notifications. That way you'll get more videos from us. Alright guys, see you next time. Hope you dug it. Cheers. Well, alright guys, that was a quick review of the Casio. Well, you just watched another video on Tuesday Gear Day from Schopfield Music. I hope you dug it. If you did, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so. We're trying to put out a lot of good content for you, and well, over here to the side, here's a few more.